But investigators, what incident traumatized you for the rest of your life? I've dealt with every type of horrifying case you could imagine. A mother murdering her family of 4, to a father eating out his own son. But nothing compares to the final case I took before I resigned. Most of my work was pretty boring, mainly sitting at a desk. But that all changed when I got one peculiar phone call. I picked it up, only to hear the voice of one of my closer PI friends on the other end. We chat casually for a few minutes, mostly just me trying to get my mind off of the writing pains in my wrist. But it's obvious that he's called for a reason. He explains that he's been on a missing person case, a small boy around the age of 4. His mother and father had divorced a few years ago, and his mother is currently holed up here, in my area. The boy has apparently been missing for quite a while now. The police had been contacted first, but they turned up nothing. After a week passes with no sign of a missing person, you kind of have to start assuming the worst. Nevertheless, we're usually the last resort for these cases. So my buddy goes asking around, and apparently he manages to dig up a couple of accounts, saying that the kid was seen boarding an olive green SUV with a woman looking to be in her early 30s, just hours before his disappearance was reported. Nobody thought to note the license plate. My friend continued explaining, saying his dad had left his son home alone for a half hour or so to run out for groceries, and that's when he disappeared. I was confused why he wouldn't take his son along with him. At first, I thought it might be deliberate, like he had for some reason done it on purpose. But if it was someone else that stole that poor boy, I can only imagine the grief that must be felt after realizing one of those tiny bursts of idiocy may have caused something so heart-wrenching. The father also described that same woman, short, mid-30s, long brown hair. This description matches a lot of women, a pretty average description. However, one sticks out, the boy's mother. The child's father had been granted sole custody of the kid. Apparently, the kid's mom had a little cabin out here which she would regularly visit and spend days worth of time in without alerting her husband, and whenever she was back home she'd either be asleep or out somewhere. So my buddy says he wants to team up for this one, split the pay. He's in a slightly larger town and the closest one to mine, but that's still a good 5-hour drive. Since he still has a few leads over on his end, he wants me to check out the mother, see if anything comes of that. It appears to me at this point that the case is pretty cut and dry, so I accept. He emails me the address and a picture of the kid and his mother, and I finish up my paperwork before setting off. I never could have guessed that this would be the last case I'd ever investigate. I drive around, lost for a few minutes before I finally catch sight of the gravel road that breaks through the wall of bark created by the forest's border. I glance down at my phone and sigh, placing it into my pocket. Guess it was stupid to expect this to be on Google Maps. Now, I always despise having to go into the forest. As I begin to slowly pull down the path, towering green giants blotting out the sun overhead, I'm starting to regret taking this case. The gravel slowly turns to dirt, and the small break in the tree line slowly begins to disappear at my back. It's dim in here, dense pines doing a damn good job of casting an impenetrable veil of shade over the woods. The silhouette of a small building finally begins to come into view off on the horizon, so with a small sigh, I park my car and get out. As much as I'd love to stay cooped up in that metal haven of protection, I am here on a private investigation job. I do have to remain relatively covert. That's not happening if a car just suddenly pulls up onto the front lawn of your isolated cabin. As I get a little closer, I begin to notice that something is off about the trees. I can't place exactly what it is. They just seem strange somehow. The path eventually opens up into a small clearing, a makeshift wooden gate sitting at the end of the path. It's not stopping anybody as there are no walls on either side of it. Its only purpose seems to be presenting a tattered "No Trespassing" sign. Past the gate is the cabin. It looks to be in surprisingly good shape, and from the outside appears rather modern, as if it's still being used. In front of it is a small patch of grass which acts as a parking space and a few areas in which it's been worn down by tires, the tracks leading right to the gate and the path I've just come down. Slowly but surely my eyes drift up from the patch of grass to the car that's been parked in it, my heart suddenly beginning to dance around in a mixture of joy and dread. Not surprisingly, it's an olive green SUV. I pull my camera up to my face and peer through the viewfinder. The SUV, the license plate. I snap a picture of each. Slowly but surely the frame drifts over to the cabin. I snap a picture, and it's at this exact moment that I realize the front door has been wide open this entire time. I go quiet on instinct, the surrounding area suddenly feeling like it's been hit with a blast of cold air. Then I hear it, a faint humming, coming from inside, soft, like a woman's voice. Once I hear it, I suddenly become unable to stop hearing it. It's a haunting, drifting tune, equal parts melodic and eerie. Every once in a while it stops or skips a little bit as if its source is running out of breath or having voice cracks. Before I really even know it, I'm taking a step forward. I know it's a stupid idea, but my legs are moving faster than my mind. Just a little peek, I tell myself, just one peek to satiate my curiosity. That's it. The cabin looms over me as I get closer. The grass crunches under my feet until finally, just barely, the inside of the building begins to come into view. I stop dead in my tracks. Branches. It takes a moment to register, but there are tree branches covering the floor. When I say covering, I mean covering. These are not sticks. They are long, spindly, thin tree branches, deliberately cut off of their trunks. Like a natural line, my gaze follows them to the single piece of furniture in the room, a small white coffee table and a CD player perched on top, and I realized why the humming sounded like it was skipping. The trees around me suddenly feel like they're closing in on every side, like the earth below my feet is trying to swallow me whole. I don't take another moment to sit and deliberate on it. I just book it out of there as fast as I can, goddamn will myself. I launch towards my car, slam the door shut, put it into reverse, and punch it out of there. That place simply felt wrong. I peel out of there as fast as I can, my heart racing and my hands shaking. All I can think about is getting as far away from that cabin as possible. As I'm speeding down the dirt road back through the woods, I catch something in my rearview mirror that makes my blood run cold. It's the woman, the one from the photo. She's standing in the middle of the road behind me, her head twisted around backwards like an owl. Even from this distance, I can see her eyes are jet black. She's smiling, her teeth unnaturally sharp. The further I went, the darker the woods became. The towering trees blotted out any remaining sunlight. I switched on my headlights, but they only illuminated a few feet ahead. I kept checking the rearview mirror, terrified I'd see that twisted, inhuman face chasing me. But there was only darkness. Just when I thought I was in the clear, a figure darted out of the trees into the road. I slammed the brakes, but it was too late. My car struck the small body with tremendous force. Heart pounding, I shakily got out, afraid of what I'd see. In the beam of the headlights lay the limp, bloodied body of a child, a boy no older than 4. My investigation concluded. The cause of death of this poor boy was now because of me.